You are watching Tech and AI Live. Now we have a great presentation coming up with Lutz Beck, Chief Information Officer at Daimler Truck North America. His presentation is titled DTNA Supply Chain, How IT Technologies and AI are Shaping Tomorrow's Network and Distribution. Lutz is Chief Information Officer for DTNA, where he is actively transforming the organization by implementing the new IT strategy, building the intelligent company, and by leading DTNA's digital transformation efforts. Before DTNA, Lutz was the CIO at Mitsubishi Trucks and Buses in Japan. As CIO, Lutz was responsible for the overarching IT technology strategy, as well as the entire development, delivery, and governance of IT at DTA. Under his leadership, connectivity and big data analytics for DTNA were initiated, developed, and successfully established. So welcome, Lutz. Thank you for joining us today. Nice to see you.
Hello, everybody.
And why don't we get straight into it, because I know that there's a lot of content to get into, so why don't you kick us off?
All right, thanks a lot. Great to be here today. So let me give you a bit of an insight on Daimler Truck North America supply chain, how we are using and why we are using AI and what we are doing with technologies here at Daimler Truck North America to push things forward. So if you're looking, just to give you a bit of an insight, when you're looking to traditional supply chains versus digital supply chains, so this was the starting point which we had, and where we looked at over the last couple of months, years, what can we do and how can we do it? So when you look to a traditional supply chain, you see here as an example, right? You see that the supply chain limits visibility, lacks in the real-time updates, and is also very slow in terms of responses to changing market conditions. And you can imagine with the current business environment which we are in and the market conditions, I mean, the fast response is something which we are needing. So here you look at a traditional supply chain where you basically have the plans, the orders, and you see all the frictions, delays, and inefficiencies, whatever we have here in this environment, and we are looking into it over the years now. So this was for us a trigger point, looking at the overall situation also in the supply chain itself, to change and to use technology. By using technology, if we're looking at it, right, we see a lot of advancements in a lot of topics here. So you see artificial intelligence certainly as one of the biggest topic. We have Internet of Things as a big highlight here as well, robotics, data and demand-driven aspects which we are taking into account. The automation topic is coming, and of course everything what is around MES, manufacturing execution systems. So this is advancements in technology which were happening and which are happening all the time, which we are able now to use, and where we said, okay, how can we use it and how can we make sure that using these technologies will help us to bring the supply chain to a next stage and to see what we can do here. And one big topic here is, of course, the supply chain, the digital supply chain, that we basically having the target to transform our digital supply chain into a digital supply chain as a what we call purpose-driven network, leveraging the technology, data, and artificial intelligence to create value and revenue. So the AI will help us basically building an intelligent control tower, which is part of our building the intelligent company, that basically takes the task of monitoring, managing, partially decision making, and also executing functions across all the company to optimize the supply chain. And there you see basically when we have this control tower in the middle of all the activities, we can basically gather all the data, and with the more amount of data we are gathering, we basically applying all the different AI and machine learning models which we have in place, and make sure that we are, in terms of planning, in terms of supply, in terms of all our manufacturing and the logistics, getting optimized procedures and processes, which are helping us to be more efficient, to be more fast than ever before, and also having more insights, what we call into the supply chain, that we know exactly can we have that part? Is that part available at a certain point of time? Is a supplier able to deliver all the parts which we need? So this is a mechanism which we are establishing at the moment, and where we make sure that we have across all our production network at any point of time the right parts available for manufacturing, but also even more, as the parts is not just for the manufacturing area, it's also for the aftermarket. So we are distributing that across. So we have over 90 locations which we will basically combine, and where we will have on top this control monitor or this control tower with all the mechanisms, with all the data which is flowing, and then applying this AI and machine learning patterns on it to make sure that we get optimized procedures. So that's something which is in the make, so-called, because we need basically all this transparency, velocity, and also agility in our supply chain, and we want to create that more and more. So this was the initial target, and we're working towards that now over the last couple of months. So to give you a bit of more insights on the digital supply chain, I will talk a bit more about the 4 pillars which we have on the digital supply chain. So when you are looking into the digital supply chain, we have 4 focus areas where we're looking into. So one focus area is certainly the technology. As we know, I mean, technology is driving everything what we're doing. Technology is supporting what we are doing, and so technology can help us also to recreate processes in a complete different way. So this is something which is for us very important. And of course, there is the IoT, there is the autonomous driving elements or automated driving elements in there. So we were using more and more everything what is there. And we are looking also not just using technology in a sense that what is existing. We also, of course, discussing with a lot of companies on what is coming, what is topics which are on the horizon, which we can use already, which we can pilot already in this approach here to make sure that we get that rolling, and all based on the data which we are gathering in everything. Then, of course, one focus area is value adding. Everything what we're doing with AI and machine learning, with technology, needs to add value to that what we're doing. Everything has to have a business case somehow to make sure that we are not just playing around, that we are really adding value to the company. So from, as an example, on-the-go production to production monitoring, that's a very big topic, and this is adding a lot of value. That's the reason why we're doing it. Then the third pillar is basically green. This is a very important pillar in terms of the sustainability, and also here it's quite interesting. We are applying machine learning and AI patterns to help us to optimize everything what we are doing there. So from on the green side, we basically go from avoiding emissions to reverse logistics. So that's something which we are looking into here. And then the fourth pillar, clear, what I mentioned already, our ultimate target is the control tower. So from a central planning and steering to asset sharing along the supply chain, as we call it. And this is one of the biggest topics which we are having. And this is one thing which we need to do, because that's something we have an enormous value. And the more down we are going into the supply chain, the more it will help. And the more data we are gathering, the more we really use technology, we use AI, we use machine learning on certain patterns, the more automation we will generate as well in the whole process. And that's helping us in terms of accuracy, velocity, and that's exactly where we are aiming at. And this is something which is, of course, not easy, but and we're discovering a lot of topics on that on the way as well. But it's certainly our target to have that in place very soon. So, and when you're looking into that, How we're doing it, here you see a bit an illustration when you look at the control tower specifically, because this is the important topic here in this topic on the supply chain, digital supply chain. So we have all the technology at the core on our supply chain, and to basically enable the control tower to make this decision making on based on data and with the AI and machine learning algorithms we have in place. So what we did basically, we have our data, our technology, we have everything together. We're looking into that, and then we're looking in all the elements which you see on the lower level here as well. So we're looking into sensor algorithms on the IoT side. We're looking at returning data. We're looking at paperless supply chain management. We're looking at Uberization in certain elements on the supply chain. We, as I said, on the green side, look at CO2 calculations in a complete different way now. And this is all enabled by the technology and using AI and machine learning algorithms to do all of that. And then you see also we are including a lot of different parties. We are basically working with a lot of different parties nowadays to make sure to get more and more data, which we actually need to optimize the supply chain in a complete different way as we did it before. So, and one big topic is for us, of course, when you're looking in all of this work, what we're doing, what is the success factors for the supply chain, and that will benefit as well. So one topic which is very important and which we noticed and learned also over the time now, which we are going, and we are running this topic now since roughly 2 years, specifically with supply chain insights and building this control tower. So one topic was for us very important: develop a flexible IT architecture and a supply chain. So we needed to adjust not just the processes, we needed to adjust the working model. Also, we are working with our suppliers on looking into the whole process chain. And in order to do all of that, you need to develop a very flexible IT architecture. So you cannot have the former models which were in place over the last years, where you had a lot of what I would call very stiff monoliths sitting somewhere and doing all the work. So we needed to create something which is extremely flexible, so that we are able to exchange the components as well, and which is always having one big target: to take the data and look into the data layer, so that we can use that at the end of the day for everything what we're doing on the AI topics. Then the second is build a very highly integrated network ecosystem. So not just integrating it with as we have it in the older technologies. No, we needed to really look a bit more into a very integrated ecosystem, where till which point we can go in front on the supplier side, and what is also on our side, how far we are going basically into the manufacturing. So what information we actually need, what kind of information we need to provide to the suppliers, so that they have everything in place from our side to basically deliver the necessary information on our side as well. So this is something which we did, and it was not easy, because there is, of course, as you can imagine, there is quite a substantial amount of older environments, missing technologies, and also, of course, who is working with the data and how are we working with the data. So there was a lot of questions, and there is still a lot of questions on the way, and we're having partnerships here with the suppliers to make sure that we get that rolling. Then the biggest point, of course, make use of data and AI wherever possible. Now, this is a big learning for us as well. First of all, making use of data, using data for decision making, using data for planning as we have it in the tower, is something which is new. Of course, everybody is working with data since quite some time, but combining data and making sure you have the right data was one of the biggest topic. And then applying artificial intelligence, working also partially with synthetic data, so basically created data, is something which is completely new. And of course, there's a big learning curve. There is a steep learning curve. There is something we never did before. We did, of course, everybody knows you do analytics, you do reporting, you do a lot of the stuff, but never before we needed to look in such details in content of data and finding the value in the data and bringing the right data streams together, making sure that this is working, and also then looking into where can we apply additional intelligence to help us to drive decisions, to steer something in a complete different way as we had it before. So that's something which was new and the biggest portion for us. And we were also here in this area, of course, having a lot of support and building our own team. So basically, we started quite early here at Daimler Truck North America to create what we call a so-called data intelligence hub, where we have our own internal resources working on this kind of topics. Of course, we take support in there as well, but for us, it's very important that we can do that by ourselves. So we created quite a big team, and they are working now with all these technologies. They're working on the AI models. They're working on the ML models. In the supply chain in other areas as well. But specifically, as we have on the supply chain, this big digital supply chain target with the control tower, it's something where we're looking in and trying to push more and more into this direction because this is helping us in automating this whole chain. So make use of data and AI wherever possible was one of the biggest success factors. And it was a big learning as well because it's not so easy to do that. Then, of course, as we said, green, a big topic for us as well. Focus on reducing ecological footprint is something we needed to do as well. I think that's an important topic, and you saw it before. I'm just referring shortly back. You see here CO2 calculations as a big topic here as well. So we did that, and we looked into that in different ways so that we have it. And then one big success factor, make reliable but adjustable forecasts. Of course, this is one thing. You need to look at what is really coming. And there is more and more. At the beginning, when we started with this journey, there was a lot of disbelief. I mean, everybody know what technology can do and what you can do with data, what you can do with AI and ML. But when you are experiencing it, it's a different story. And you need to showcase basically also what is the results and how are the results helping. So, and especially on the digital supply chain, it's very obvious that everything is very transparent, and immediately if there is a mistake, you can find it. So we had some kind of a real-time proof of all the models which we are using, especially on the forecasting, on the production planning, on the scheduling. That's something which was giving us immediate insights. And was one of the big success factors that we actually were able to showcase that the models and everything what we're using is working, and that there is a real benefit for the business on this side. So it's a good thing to do. You need some belief in it that it's working, and you need to have some long breath as well, because it's not so easy to convince everybody in these topics. But we are on the way. We're in a very good way. The control tower is our ultimate target to go to, and now we are actually working quite fine on the topics here. So make sure that we get this rolling. So if you look at it, I mean, what does it help us, right? I mean, this is a big thing, and I guess this is something which we need to look into as well. As I said, playing with the technology is one topic. Applying or using data, applying AI and machine learning models is the other thing. But we're not doing research, so we need to deliver results. And on the right side, you see some benefits which we've seen. So when you look at it, 3 times return on innovation. So this is a big number. This is something which is proven also across the industries. So I think that's something which is extremely good. Then 8% increase on-time delivery, which is a big topic, right? I mean, on-time delivery for us, a very, very, very important topic, because when you think about our customers, they are waiting their products, they are waiting their trucks, right? So the more reliability we can give them already at the point of order, the better it is. And with the insights, with the supply chain insights now, which we are having, we have more reliability on the on-time delivery, and this is something which was very important as well. Then, of course, 30 to 50% improved forecast. This is also a number which is industry over the industries, but we see that as well on our side, that this is coming more and more. And then 20% reduction in time to market, also something which was very important to bring that in. And the rework topic, very important for us, of course. Rework, but specifically in a situation, as you can imagine, when you're building a truck, when you're coming in a current business environment, which is characterized by shortages on parts due to various reasons, right? Chip shortage, everybody knows that, right? Now, just imagine you're building the trucks. There is a high demand for the trucking industry, because specifically on the North American market, goods are basically transported with trucks, and there is this one of the key infrastructure elements here. So now, when you have a high demand, when you have orders and you do not have the parts, you're building partially trucks, and then you say, okay, there is a specific part missing, and this is the rework which you're having. Now, as we have a digital supply chain, as we have more insights, as we have more analytical models running over it, which giving us more insights, which giving us more transparency on everything what is there, the number of trucks which are going in what we call offline situations is less. And we can help here much more, right? The target is, of course, with everything what we're doing on the digital supply chain, to do that even more. We need to push much more on that one. As I said, this is a journey which we started a year, 2 years back, and it's a long journey. That's not an easy journey to change all of that, but this is what we are expecting here as well, that we have, of course, a significant decrease in the rework, which is coming. And I think this is something which is very important, especially for the industry here as well. So in general, I think we started this journey way back. We learned about technology, we learned about data, we are learning still, and this is nothing new. You are learning on the go every single day, because technology is changing, and also everything what we're doing on AI and machine learning is changing more and more. So that's something which is interesting, which is exciting also for the team here, how we can change with the technology ways of behavior which were there for years, right? And now suddenly we're really changing it. We are opening up a lot of potentials in the supply chain when we are comparing that to a traditional supply chain. And that's something which is really helping. So we are pushing more and more. We have also pilots running with suppliers here in various areas to look more into that. And we're continuing the journey which we have here. And of course, looking forward also to more and more what I would call advancements in the technology, or advancements also how we are using artificial intelligence or machine learning models in the future. So that's from my side, just a short insight what we are doing on the digital supply chain and how we are working towards the digital supply chain. I just wanted to give you a bit of a heads up on that one, and thank you very much for your attention. Thank you.
Thanks, Lutz. That was really, really interesting. And I think we have time for one question. We've had a few questions come in from the audience, but I think we might be able to squeeze one in. But I think anyway, you ended up answering a lot of the questions that were said because it was just so informative. So we'll go for this one. It's a two-part question. So technology and AI are two large topics that most executives deal with differently. As CIO of DTNA, how do you ensure that your AI strategy is A, understandable to, and B, executable by all employees?
That's a good question, right? That's a good question because, I mean, how you make technology understandable for people, right? Even if we're in a digital era, right? It's still very difficult because, especially when you're looking at AI, it's quite an abstract topic, right? It's not very easy to understand. So that's one topic why we said, making it understandable, right? I mean, making it what I would call is touchable, right? I mentioned in my presentation, we created transparency with AI. We used the models also to really showcase how we are improving certain topics and how we are getting to certain results. And we had these results immediately coming back to us in real time on the shop floor, in a certain sense, in a plant, right? And I think what we did is not that we created now a big, AI strategy and a big pamphlet and telling everyone, hey, look, this is what we want to do. And what we're doing is we take the small pieces, and we're using basically these small pieces with specific colleagues, right? And we make them a success, and they see that. And what is quite good is basically when we are, from a technology point of view, want to explain that, it's difficult. But if one of our business users explaining to another business users what the AI model we're doing in his specific area, it's easier for them to understand because they can relate it to the business terminologies. And this is what we are doing. We're basically using our colleagues as multiplicators to explain what we are doing in this field of AI and machine learning, and then let them tell the story on their side. And then we're going with the other colleagues on top and thinking of new topics, what we're doing. So this is to make it a bit more easier for everybody to understand. The executable portion is a more difficult portion, right? The executive portion is something where we early started to create our internal team, our own team. So with the know-how of the industry, with the terminologies, with everything what we have, because what I noticed, if you're coming in from a technology point, when you're coming in with, you have your AI models and your machine learning models in your head, but you're not able to adjust that to the industry specific terminologies, you will not be able to execute it because you don't have the right information. So creating this own team and having them sitting with the business is making it easy to execute.
Brilliant. And we are nearly to time, so I think we'll have to wrap it up there. But thank you so much for taking the time to speak to us today. Let's really appreciate it.
You're welcome. It was my pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you. And thanks to the audience for watching. Make sure you stay tuned to check out the rest of our speakers at Tech and AI Live.